Hey, it's Adam.
And Brian. We don't usually do this, but we wanted to throw a quick note at the beginning of this episode. It's a really interesting conversation, but we went into it lighthearted to talk about rap battles and the fun and humor in a lot of that. But it got really heavy. It touched on some really interesting topics that are important to talk about, but in the context of the comical conversation, we wanted to make sure that you knew that you might want to put headphones on if there are little kids around.
It's a great conversation. It's a hilarious conversation, but it's about comedy. It's about safe spaces. It's about free speech. And it's about a lot of the topics that come up in a rap battle where the two people are trying as hard as they can to cleverly insult the other person.
It goes deep into inappropriate things that one might not want to ever say, but that perhaps we should still protect and allow to be said in certain environments.
But for now, you might want to wear headphones if there are little ears about.
Little ears afoot. I've never heard of such an absurd concept as harmonica anxiety.
Right? You couldn't be more hidden. You get to cover your face with your hands.
You're literally breathing in and out of a comb.
That if you've picked the right one, is never out of key.
Right. Nobody knows if you're good.
Hey, it's Zengineering Podcast. I'm Adam.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Pete.
Oh, that was perfect.
Ding, 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 ding.
You bring me in
That's
here
perfect.
to not drop perfect drops?
Not drop perfect drop.
That's bars.
I feel like that's a perfect
Bar drop
that's
and
a perfect
partay.
intro into the topic at hand. But I feel like first we got to introduce Pete, and before that, I got to pimp some stuff. Special thanks as always to our backers on Patreon who throw us as little as $1 an episode to keep this thing afloat. Hang out, drop us a buck on there, send us a message. Honestly, just talk to us anywhere, and we'll probably be happy to add you to our Slack channel.
Interrupt us in a restaurant.
Yeah, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, we got Pete in the house, buddy of ours from way back.
Way back.
I mean, the older I
far
get,
back.
the further that how long I've known you is not that way far back, but
That's how time works.
for longer than other people I've known that I deal with all day.
I'll take that.
But this is the part where I hate doing intros. So
I can
I'm
see
gonna
because your
awkwardly
shoulders are almost
kick to
touching
you.
your ears
I know,
right now.
man. Pete's actually came over for this, so we have two
This is
participants
effort.
here.
He
IRL.
seems to have some experience being on air.
A fair amount.
He does.
I am a comedian. You may have not seen me on Gotham Comedy Live on You Can Do Better on True TV, and I starred on an E! show called Hashtaggers. I was on an MTV show called Greatest Party Story Ever. Hosted a radio show in college, actually. That was the most popular radio show they ever had. It was called Petey's Playhouse.
Which one of those is the one where you won a date with Britney Spears?
That was Greatest Party Story Ever. In my stand-up, I tell a story of how when I was 17, I hacked into the Planet Hollywood website and wrote a little computer script to vote for myself in a Justin Timberlake lookalike contest that my friend Kent entered me in without telling me, and won a trip to Orlando to go on a dream date with the Britney Spears lookalike contest winner.
That's what it was. Oh, the
Wow.
lookalike contest winner is the part where that gets really good.
Yeah. At the beginning, they
Well, the
thought it was
topic
on
of the
a
episode has now
date
shifted.
with Britney Spears, and then I really just hedged all the expectations there.
Brian, I knew you would appreciate Pete as a guest.
Please send
But-
pics.
We're not really here to talk about any of that. We're here to talk about Pete's obsession with battle rap, which
He says condescending.
I want to understand.
Battle rap.
I say it with
Says
that
a lot.
tone only because I want to understand it.
So much so that you didn't watch any of the links that I sent.
Which in our pre-podcast
That was
conversation,
tactical.
I tried to own as tactical, but it wasn't.
He wants to be fresh, man. He wants to not know anything so that
you-
he can not know anything.
He doesn't want you to
are-
claim that he stole bars later when we're throwing down.
Right. I don't even know what it means. Steal bars. It's already come up twice.
We need to educate you since you haven't seen
Yeah.
it.
So let's back it up and never mind the fact that I tactically didn't watch the things you gave us for homework in the Slack channel that you could have access to if you throw us $1 on Patreon.
Both of you.
Yeah, you're not the only the only pseudo professional. You're actually a real professional. So when I say that, it's like insulting.
Agreed.
But I, I'm getting better as a host.
You're a very good host. You're a good producer. You're good at guiding the conversation.
If you were in a Slack channel, you would see the videos that I'm talking about because they've already been shared there. I failed to watch them, although it was the homework that Pete gave us.
I did. I wrote big, long descriptions and searched through what battles would be appropriate, and I really curated that list.
They will be great for our listeners when they come to our website for additional content.
Bam.
Nailed it.
We'll put them in the show notes too, so you don't actually have to give us money to get.
You do have to give us $1 on Patreon.
If you want to get
Don't
access
give it away
early, if you want to have input on whether or not I should do this homework before it happens, then
Adam's going to make a bunch
that'll
of fake
cost you
accounts.
$1 an
Adam
episode.
shouldn't do any homework.
I love how unprepared you are for this endeavor.
Yeah. It's going to be all fake accounts that are all Adam. Like the Schmurp says, no, Adam doesn't need to do homework, and also he should get free burgers every episode.
So,
Damn, that's a nice
about this
perk.
guy.
so breakdown for people that don't understand the battle rap phenomenon, what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, there are a couple foundational things. Most people's cultural reference for battle rap is 8 Mile. And I'm going to pretend for those of you who haven't seen 8 Mile, battle rap. Imagine 2 rappers on a stage, not unlike slam poetry, standing in front of each other. They get 3 rounds each, like a boxing match, and the rounds are different times based on the league, the venue, the rappers. Sometimes it's 60-second rounds, sometimes it's 90-second rounds, sometimes it's 5-minute rounds, and those times are all paused when they get crowd reaction. So a 3-minute round ends up being 9-10 minutes because, the crowd reacts. You have to pause, go back, all that stuff. And they are trying to verbally and lyrically best each other. And that can be done in a lot of different ways. There are personals where you say things you know about the other person and actually diss them as a human being. Or you can just style on them and go, look how good of a rapper I am. And I can flippity-dippity wordsmith all day, and I'm better and cooler and smoother, and my girl's cuter, and all of that brag shit. There's also lots of bars, which are fresh and raw and unhomeworked. A host may need a definition for. A bar, when you write battle raps, you're writing your bars. So each line is a bar.
It's a musical term.
It's a musical term, yes. But in battle rap, particularly good or clever or substantive lines are called bars. If you go, your mom's fat, that's not a bar. That's right. Just a stupid insult. But if you go, I brought to keep the beef fresh, I brought something aluminum for you. That's a bar. So
it's defined by the reaction a little bit.
Channel so we had a suggestion from somebody in the channel for like what we should talk about in regards to this, and I think we'll get there. But it caused me to throw out one of my favorite lines ever from a Tribe Called Quest song.
It was real good. I was waiting for that in the videos that were shared.
Oh no!
That line
Tall, dark, and handsome. I'm all that and then some. Bust the nut inside your eye to show you where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a bar?
That's bars.
That's bars.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So
you can relax now. That's your bar for the episode.
Yeah, your bar quota was just exceeded.
Man. I can put my shoulders back down.
Plus 1 bar.
There are a lot. Let's not get all RPG about this shit with your plus ones.
Your buffs.
So there are a lot of different ways that people are judged in a battle nowadays. Most of them are not judged like he's the winner and he's the loser. That's very, very few battles nowadays. It's mostly leave it up to the fans to argue who won. The only battles that are officially judged are generally the championship battles because they need to know who the new champion is, or if the 2 battlers put money up, then we need to know who's a winner so that they can win or lose. But they employ during a battle lots of different tactics. It can be personal insults, just showing you how good of a rapper I am, and that can be through, as Brian was saying, references to lots of different things.
So many references.
So many references. Clever wordplay, multi-syllabic rhymes, a million different things. Freestyle rebuttals. So the majority of people, when they think battle rap, they think 8 Mile, and it is put a beat on and go ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, punchline, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, your mom. And it's set up punchline, because it's to a beat, and that's how battle rap used to be. 97% of battle rap now is not freestyled, it's pre-written, and it's a cappella. There's no beat anymore.
Does that mean you know who you're going to face?
Yes.
Or does that change round to round?
Weeks and months in advance.
Okay.
Yes. So it's, imagine a boxing. There's a main card and an undercard, and they know who they're facing weeks or months in advance. Sometimes it's a week notice. Usually it's a month or two.
Is there ever a bracket structure where you don't know who you're up against, and like later in the day until after you finish the one person you practiced?
Not anymore, because your rhymes would have nothing to do with the people you're battling.
Right.
Generally, the more customized rhymes, the better. Because if you're just going, yo, I'm a great rapper, and yo, I'm going to shoot you, great. But what's clever is if you make it about this person, or you do name flips where you take the person's name and make fun of it. Actually, so for those listeners who know the show on True TV, The Carbonaro Effect, it's a magic hidden camera prank show. It's currently in its 3rd season. The lead guy, Michael Carbonaro, the guy who hosts it, I tour with him doing theaters. We did the Wiltern in March, and so there's a guy named DNA. Is it DNA? Tay-Rock? I don't remember who it was. He lost to a guy named B Magic. So he said, magic made you look dumb on cam. That's the Carbonaro effect. So because people on the Carbonaro effect are made to look silly by a magician. So he's saying B Magic made you look dumb on camera because we film these battles. That's the Carbonaro effect. So that is a reference to a TV show that is a hidden camera magic show that if you've seen, you get it. If you can place all the words together, and you know who B Magic is, and you recognize that on cam is because battles are filmed. So every single line, you have to know 3 or 4 different things and piece them all together.
That was a really interesting component of this, because the crowd plays in so heavily to the videos that you sent over. It was especially interesting because as I was watching, especially that second one, let me pull that up real. Just get the name.
Thesaurus versus Fresco.
Yes. Especially that one, the references were so broad. I mean, touching on like historical references,
Back to the Future,
gaming references, societal references, like all manner, mathematical references. And you could imagine that not everyone is getting every reference. A lot of what was said was over my head. And then so you get this really cool thing from the crowd where like you're balancing out. You could tell people really like obscure references, but they also like popular references. And so you get this really interesting balance where you're like, if I can get just the right angle on this, like the right people in the room are going to get it, and that's going to amplify the crowd's response. There's so much dynamicism to the, is that one word?
Well, and
it is now.
What I think is interesting is that what Pete just ran through strikes me as like, there's this insular, like I see why the people that really like it, I feel like they're part of a community of people that like this thing. But the fact that, Brian, you were able to dip into it just from these videos is partially fed by the crowd in the same way that like a laugh track works on a comedy. It's a little bit of telegraphing the merit of a thing that you...
Oh, absolutely, right?
That you don't necessarily... But what that metric...
Laughing when you don't get the joke.
You're right. Well, and what that metric is assessing is, what you're chasing for bars is turn of phrase. And so
Look at you, bars. Look at you. You're like
bam!
a pro already.
I know, right, man?
I'm so proud of you.
Just fit in.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're my special guy.
It doesn't surprise me that like Pete, with your background doing comedy, like joke writing is about the same stuff, right?
Yes.
You change your reference, you change the juxtaposition of 2 words, you change the pace with which you deliver it, and it's a completely different joke if you say it on stage, right? So you say you're not good at battle rapping.
No,
but you kinda
I
do
just
the
don't
same-
freestyle.
Right.
Because one of the terrible ideas for this episode was that we all freestyle battle at the end, and it would have been a turbo disaster, and the cringe factor for this podcast would have skyrocketed and broken the top of the graph. I do ghostwrite for a couple of battle rappers. I am not an incredible flippity dippity multisyllabic rhymer word scientist, but I have a couple of friends that will remain nameless because I'm not going to say that they don't write their own stuff. They do write 97% of their own stuff, and I'll throw them a line here and there. But what I specialize in is what's known as angles, which is what is the angle you are going to go at your opponent with? What are you going to talk about? Because you can't just say, I'm a great rapper and you're bad. Bring up the fact that they girlfriend broke up, that they this. Stand-up and battle rap are very, very similar because other than rhyming, you have to create context out of thin air and then have a punchline on that context. Because lots of people go, oh, you do stand-up? I could do stand-up. I'm pretty funny in conversation. I'm like, yeah, but the people in the stand-up audience have never met you. And they don't know that the girl at your office always wears weird blue dresses. So they don't have the context. You have to create it out of thin air and then do jokes on it. You can't, being funny with friends is so... In battle rap, there is it is somewhat easier than stand-up because there is context, because this is going to rhyme. It's going to be about this specific person that you're battling, and we know who that person is and their style and some of their look and maybe some of their history battling. So I'll give you guys an example of this. Will encapsulate a bunch of things about battle rap that will help. So the battles that I sent you in this channel were 3 levels of understandability, let's say. Because the first one was Pat Stay versus Holohan. 2 white dudes from Nova Scotia. They're not using super, super thick hip-hop slang. They know each other personally, so the shit they're talking about you can understand without knowing anything about them because they tell the story of their friendship breaking up and what happened, and it's pretty easy to digest. Thesaurus versus Fresco, they're both more rappers. They're both like white-ish dudes, so they're not super, super thick hip-hop slang either, but they're a little bit more referential and they're a little bit tougher. And then Hitman Holla versus John the Don is like smack URL to, if you've never watched battle rap, you could watch it and get 30% of it because you don't know who they're talking about. You don't understand that Desi is a word for a gun, that Desi is Desert Eagle, and you need to know there are a million things that you would need to know to understand.
I was lost by video 3. I couldn't follow anything.
Of course you were. So I tried to ease you into that. But there's another battle. So this will help a lot of people. Thesaurus versus Roan, okay? Roan is this hot up-and-comer guy. Thesaurus is this veteran. He's on the Mount Rushmore of battle rap. A bunch of people have booked battles with Roan and then not shown up for various reasons. So, Thesaurus against Roan says, no weddings, no funerals, no pathetic excuses, no holds barred, no respect for these new kids. Nowadays, an up-and-comer tests a legend and loses and thinks he's seasoned in a day like a Netflix exclusive. So you guys probably got like 60% of that, right?
It was good, yeah.
I think so.
But so he
with
goes,
the context you gave
right
us
with
about
that,
their
and
ages.
I did it half the speed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So he goes, no weddings, no funerals, no pathetic excuses. So he's saying, I booked a battle with you and I showed up, not like these other people who ducked you, right? No holds barred, which is a wrestling term or a boxing term that you can there are no rules in this battle. You can do whatever the fuck you want. No respect for these new kids. He's saying Roan does not deserve my respect. Nowadays, an up-and-comer, Roan, tests a legend, Thesaurus, and loses. So he's saying now these new guys think they can just battle one of the veterans and thinks they're seasoned in a day, become a seasoned veteran. Just by battling one of the veterans and losing, you're a seasoned veteran. He's saying that's not true. So they think they're seasoned in a day, like a Netflix exclusive, because Netflix shows come out a season at a time. So that's 4 bars in 1 round of 3 rounds of 1 battle. And it is dense as shit.
Super dense.
So dense. And that's a pretty easy one to understand.
Yeah.
That doesn't have any crazy hip-hop slang you've never heard of. It's all very plain spoken. It has a very easy 4/4. Thesaurus has a very easy 4/4 rhyme structure. But even that, you have to know people have canceled on Roan. Thesaurus is a veteran. Roan's an up-and-comer. Netflix shows come out a season at a time. No holds barred is a wrestling term for there are no rules in this battle. A seasoned veteran. I mean, there's in 4 bars, and that's an easy one. So... and even at the top levels, the last one that I sent you, Hitman Holla and John the Don, it looks like, for those of you who haven't watched the video, Adam, and everybody at home, this is like what you think of as rappers. 2 big, tough black guys, looking tough, being 50 Cent versus 50 Cent. That's the kind of league that we're talking about. But even they are doing nerdy wordplay, which is my favorite shit, because they're going, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to kill you. But right underneath that, it's really clever. Because if you're not doing clever wordplay, you're not battle ready. That's what we're doing here. So for all this fucking bravado and all this stuff, it's like they're word nerds. So in that one that I sent you, Hitman Holla and John the Don, Hitman Holla has this big necklace on, and John says, I'm going to let 8 off, with 8 shots off. I'm going to shoot you 8 times. If I find out what the jewels on Holla, Hitman Holla, cost. So he's saying, if I find out that your necklace is really expensive, I'm going to shoot you and take it, right? I'm going to let 8 off if I find out what the jewels on Holocaust. 8 off, Jews, Holocaust.
Wow.
3 double entendres in 1 line. It sounds like he's like, I'm going to shoot you. He's doing a World War II scheme right now.
I mean, how does that even play out? How did he know he was going to be wearing that? Is that made up on the spot?
Hitman always wears a big chain.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And even if he's not wearing a chain, we all know Hitman probably wears chains. We get it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be he's currently wearing a chain. He happened to be wearing a chain, which he always does. But even if he's not, we still get it. He's a rapper. He wears a big gold chain.
We have a buddy of ours from high school who's been on the podcast before, Alan, who always used to tell me that the stuff that he used to listen to back in high school when everyone else was listening to like Pearl Jam and shit was like, he wanted to listen to Tribe Called Quest and Far Side and like even more obscure, like Dead Prez, like deep on these, down that road. And his argument was always that he had no rhythm. And so he couldn't understand the musical like merit behind anything that was just like, I'm going to play guitar and sing. He was like, meh.
Didn't get it.
He's like, but these guys, it's about being witty. It's about like turn of phrase. It's about a thing where you can just be like, man, that was a good way of saying that.
That's exactly right. That's why I like it so much. It's why my favorite writer is Aaron Sorkin. Because everything that he writes is really fast and everybody's always interrupting each other. We never stop. And if there's a joke, we just keep going. We're all adults here. We're not going to laugh at the joke. We're going to move on to the next scene. And I love that because that's my brain. When I watch a multicam, if I watch Big Bang Theory, I'm like, oh my God, just get to the joke. Jesus Christ. How fucking slow is it? It drives me crazy. It's so slow. And I'm like, I see the joke coming 30 miles away. And I'm like, But Sorkin stuff and really fast-paced things, my brain goes, yep, got it, yeah, okay, next, great. Yeah. And it feels so good. There's something that my brain it makes me really happy by rapidly delivered words. I like fast rap, Aaron Sorkin, battle rap. I don't know what it is about it, but the rhythm of words really pleases my...
It's a great juxtaposition to toss Aaron Sorkin up against battle rap.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well-considered words.
It makes perfect sense.
Yes.
But it's not at all what people, I think, might be picturing when they think of battle rap.
No.
Well, what I think is interesting is it's partially because rap, there's this rap hip-hop distinction, I think, that I've never been able to fully understand, but like the stuff that I grew up liking was the stuff I was just talking about with Alan, where it's about turn of phrase, overt, like the beat part of it is almost secondary to, like, there's a clever something that the DJs cut together with their, you know, their turntables, and it's a bonus if that's great. But what you're there for is this rapidly delivered, massively clever poetry. And that's
not anymore.
Sort of morphed into battle rap.
Yes.
While what's popular is the stuff that Brian frequently brings up in the course of, like, when we talk about our formative years for music. Like, for a while it was Nirvana, and then for a while it was just like pouring champagnes on strippers' asses while you throw dollar bills at them, and it just, like, something happened there that turned into this sort of space, while the stuff that I like, although I didn't follow it into battle rap, was, like, turned into an e-sport. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, because you're talking about these guys facing off. Like, I'm sure fisticuffs break out occasionally. They're heated scenarios.
Yes.
But they don't go there to punch one another.
No, not at all.
But it's still structured as a battle, right?
Like,
so
it's a boxing match with words instead of fists. It's exactly structured like a boxing match. There's a really fantastic YouTube. He's a YouTuber now, but his name is Jay Smoove, and he has this video about lyrical. He hosted, like, the most popular hip hop radio show in New York for years and years and years, and he does these really clever, socially conscious commentary on whatever the. You know, I'm sure he has a great one about Charlottesville up right now. And sometimes Rachel Maddow will play his clips on her show. Like, he's brilliant. And he has this episode about lyrical rap versus poppy rap, and how these new rappers go, you know, my lyrics are nonsense. I just want to make people dance, and it's all about the beat. And they're like, I'm just in this for the money. And he does this breakdown of, you know, there are people like Soulja Boy who will have, you know, some garbage song that'll be #1 for a couple weeks. But he does this breakdown of the top earning rappers for the last number of years are always super lyrical rappers. They're Jay-Z, Eminem, Nas, those kinds of substantive rappers. Yeah. So he said, not only is being a pop rapper, what does he say? Like, creatively bankrupt, but also not a great long-term investment.
Right.
Like, if you really want to have a long career and make lots of money, it's the Eminems and the Jay-Z's and those kind of really lyrical people. Lots of hip hop is lacking to me in cleverness because it's so trending towards that's a great beat and some dude mumbling nonsense over it. And fine, that's good for club bangers and shit like that. But I'm here for just the meat with no fat. I want clever wordplay and nothing else. And that's what battle rap is. There's no fat. It's all meat. It's just the part of rap that I like. It's really clever language usage. And I love it. It's hyper concentrated.
And I think by including the competition aspect, you get this thing. It's like, if I behaved on the street like football players behave in a game, I would literally be in prison. They do things to one another that are illegal to do to one another on the street in normal society.
You know Neil Brennan? Why would you know Neil Brennan? He started Chappelle's Show with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant stand-up comic, and in his new special, it was the Ray Rice, the guy who beat up his girlfriend in that elevator. He's like, that headline should have been, football player does football at the wrong time.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I meant to do elevator, but I did football. It's like, of course this happened. They tell them to be violent all day, every day, smash into each other. You don't think this is going to happen? Of course this is going to happen.
And so when you incorporate that aspect of competition, like, it's okay culturally for football players to bash the shit out of one another on a field because context of competition.
Yes.
And this gets to the point that Alan is actually the one that brought up in the Slack conversation, which was like, by turning rap into an e-sport and
There's
introducing
this
competition. I only say E because it's in the context of, like, the physical danger is certainly minimized compared to if I were to go play League of Legends in real life, I would immediately get impaled by a pike. Like, you can't. Anyway, the point at the end of that.
Pike resisting amulet.
Not if I have a magical pike resisting amulet. We just talked about amulets for like 15 minutes in our previous podcast.
Sorry I missed that.
We can repeat it.
I got a lot of thoughts on amulets, guys.
Ambulance?
It's a silent
That's
B.
how much have you said that word in my life. That might be the first time I've ever said the word mullet in my life, and my mouth was like, you haven't done this one before, have you? Let me see.
You're welcome. You can put that into a bar now.
I'm going to ask Siri how to spell that because I've spoken it, but I've never written it. But it strikes me that the introduction of competition allows you to the topic that was thrown out in the Slack channel was, this is a great context to talk about the idea of problematic art, which is like, we live in this time where people don't like things that offend people. They don't like a lot of conversations, politically at least, and even philosophically, are sort of foreclosed because we can't talk about stuff that's like you want to just throw out there. Like, even as you were talking about the Ray Rice thing, I felt like I needed to back up and go, we're not saying it's okay that he footballed at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Right. But in this context of competition, the same way it's okay to bash the shit out of people in football.
Yes.
In this battle rap thing, like Alan pointed out a line in one of the videos he says about raping a 15-year-old, right? He says it's a ridiculous verse, but I assume because he mentioned it that it was, also clever.
I don't know the exact line that he's referring to, but that's not unreasonable for a battle rapper to talk about.
Right, but in that context, no one in the room goes, ooh. I mean, they do, but it's probably more like, ooh.
Yeah.
Not like,
I mean, even a much
just
less serious line. Like, for instance, in one of the ones I was watching, there was a lot of references to the other rap battlers' acne scars, which would be an absolutely horrific topic of conversation at a party when you've met someone. But the other rapper was applauding and clapping and cheering on the crowd because it was well played.
Yes.
And I think that's the angle of problematic art, where it's challenging to you, it's cringeworthy a little bit, but there's clearly something important going on there, right? There's something of extreme value.
Yes.
And this is the second time in a couple podcasts I've been caused to bring up that Alan Watts thing where he talks about, like, if you want to be a philosopher, if you want to have worthwhile conversations, you have to offend people.
You have to get
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
You have to start by saying grossly offensive things.
Yeah.
Because you can't just go like, hey guys, let's maybe talk about existence.
And that's been surprisingly hard for us on our podcast, actually. We have a whole episode where we purposefully address some like really non-aggressive things, like not at all, and it was like a formative episode for us that freed us to be more open and
on uncomfortable topics. I mean, it was called.
Yeah, we purposefully had to address some really simple things like basic sexuality, and we're like, oh, phew, we can finally like talk about girls on our podcast, which is so awkward for these two like middle-aged white guys. And watching through these rap battles, I mean, you progressed them very well, right? The first one was like very easy. The second one was still nerdy white guys, but not, they had like, there was more attitude. They were physically aggressive towards each other. And then the third one, I was totally uncomfortable in the situation, you know? So by the third, I'm like, I'm exhausted mentally. I'm uncomfortable imagining myself being there. And it's a very interesting juxtaposition to how normal conversation happens.
Yeah, battle rap is kind of this weird safe zone to say horrible shit because at the end of the day, they're really just going for clever. Right. And when a guy says, I'm going to rape your girlfriend or whatever, he's not going to do that. Of course he's not going to do that. He's not a rapist. He's not an actual criminal. But man,
he's a rapist.
He's a rapist. That's bars.
It's an interesting. Here, some of the. I don't. My rap and hip hop and poetry and general history around this medium of art is not fantastic. But there is a time. There was a time with certain rap music where it was extremely reflective of actual battles going on in streets, right?
Yes.
Of people actually killing each other.
Yes.
And I think that hangover for me, I mean, that was like happening when I was a young child. So by the time I was formative and in my teenage years and like rap music had become, it was merging into pop culture as opposed to like this artistic stand-up against what's happening in the world. The adults in my life were like, you can't listen to that crap. It's all about actually murdering people on the street. But we're not necessarily past that because people are still getting murdered on the street for the same fucking bullshit right now. and maybe literally right now as we're talking. But how do you find that transition point for something being this like important civil protest that is clearly bad, where the FBI is telling you to stop performing in public theaters, to now it's something that anyone can do for fun on the weekends with a group at their local warehouse.
Local warehouse. I was like, oh, what's he gonna say?
They seem to all be in warehouses.
YMCA.
But you can also reframe this back to the comedy thing, right? Like the idea of problematic art is, like the ongoing argument in comedy circles, has to do with, oh, this person made a joke about rape, and this subset of people wants to say that that's not okay in any context. And then other comedians answer, and they just go, if that's not okay, then comedy's not okay.
Yes.
And you're castrating its use as a social tool to talk about problematic things.
Because what isn't funny is if you go, man, everything is great. That's not funny. What's funny is this is wrong, this is different, this is weird, this is a social friction point, that's what pushes, that's why there aren't that many conservative funny people. They're trying new things and challenging society, and so they don't go, man, it was great 30 years ago. All right, thanks everybody, I'll see you guys later. It's not how it works.
So this touches on an episode we did a long time ago on profanity. Is that stuff funny only because we're told not to do it? Like, if it were okay for me to make fun of your acne scars, like, that wouldn't be funny anymore in context, right?
Yeah.
So it's because of limitations that make things unique, make things like that unique, right?
Well, a lot of it is, it all comes down to intent. And when Fresco is making fun of Thesaurus's acne scars, everybody does that. They do what's called face jokes to Thesaurus. And you have to go at the person with whatever you've got to go at them with. And Thesaurus knows that Fresco respects the shit out of him and thinks he's one of the best battle rappers of all time, and is not going, man, you made fun of my acne scars. That's why when they're making fun of each other and they're really landing some hard bars, they're clapping and slapping each other and, dude, that was fucking great. Because that's what we're here to do. That's the context. If you go, why'd you make fun of me? Because it's a battle. What do you think we're doing here? We are trying to break each other down as best we can and then hug at the end. There are some battles where there's actual animosity and there's a fight, and it happens sometimes. A couple times a year, somebody will throw a fist.
Yeah, there was clear physicality to this as well. Even the ones
absolutely.
where they were friendly, you're intimidating the person, you're screaming in their ear.
It's a little bit WWE. There's an element of this is sports entertainment.
Theatrics.
Yes, there are some theatrics. Some people do it way more than others. You can get really corny with it. There's a factor that some people think about for each battler, is believability. If a tiny little like nerdy white kid's like, yo, I'm gonna pop the Ruger and I'm gonna kill your girl, everyone's like, shut the fuck up, dude. No, you're not. But if a giant scary dude says that, it's like, okay, that guy's pretty believable. So it's good to see a battler stay in. If you're a nerdy white frat boy, don't say you're a fucking gat popping gangster, because everyone rolls their eyes. Be you. Be clever in the way that you're clever. Do this as you. And if they put on this crazy character, it's inauthentic and people don't like it.
So is battle rap a specific niche of like a more broadly group rapping genre? Because I'm wondering, the battle component of it is sort of assumes the competition and the aggression. And I'm wondering if there is like a version of it where it's more specifically around the lyrical competition, or where you're maybe rapping about different topics as opposed to rapping against the other person.
Kind of how it started. Initially, battles probably at like New York house parties when hip hop was just starting to be a thing in clubs like that. A rap battle would be between two MCs, and they wouldn't be talking about each other at all. They would just be trying to just get the crowd hype with their best rhymes. And it was, yo, 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 I'm the best rapper, and you know, like that old school. And that guy's a great rapper, oh, that guy's a great rapper.
Right.
Then they started going, and this dude sucks because, and that opened the whole thing
Interesting.
to this. So some of these guys are like in and out of jail and have gun charges and are really doing this shit. And some of them are goofy frat dudes, or just like they look really tough, but they're like a slam poet, but they do. And it's sort of a safe place for them to do this because they're not out on the street actually killing each other. We've now taken it and made it safe and go, okay, you guys can take all your energy out on each other in this controlled environment, and you can do and say all the things that you'd want to. But like football, they're allowed to smash into each other. You can't do that in public. In battle rap, you can say all this shit, and you can say, "I'm gonna kill you," and my friend has a gun in the car. And if you do that in real life, you get arrested or murdered.
That takes it to a really interesting space here, because you most certainly can't charge people on the street and tackle them and then take things from them and run away, which is in essence the theme of football. Yeah. But you can go out in the street and say whatever you want to someone, and that's a very explicitly protected right of an American. Mm-hmm. But when you take these things in the context of battle rap, we're talking about it as though this place has been set up to make it appropriate and okay and safe to be that way. But yet we still allow anyone to go and say whatever they want, wherever they want, as a right.
Yes.
And what's up
Not
with
necessarily
that?
with no consequences, though.
Which is
true.
not
No
without,
Public, there are serious
without
consequences.
any actual physical consequence.
Well,
you
this
can
is
have
the
anything said
fundamental-
back to you.
Oh, you
This
might
is
get punched. I mean,
Well,
there could be-
allowed physical consequence. The appeal and sort of the structure of how this developed, it draws an interesting comparison between what you're allowed to go do in public, what you're supposed to go do in public, what's safe to go do in public, and then what we let you do that brings value when you're not when you're in this controlled environment where you're expected to be offensive and angry and aggressive.
It takes the people's natural impulses. People want to fight. People see each other and they want to beat the shit out of each
You
other.
want to kill the other person and take their resources.
So we have boxing and we have MMA and we have these things where we go, okay, we all want to do this. Let's do it in a thing with a cage around it, and let's have tickets, and let's showcase this thing that everybody wants to do, or a fair amount of people want to do, and let's make it safe and let's control it. And
then everyone else can experience it vicariously.
Right. And that's the same thing with battle rap. It's
people who don't want to admit that they want to do that.
Sure.
And then watch it in quiet.
Right. Some people in the crowd are like, I want to do this, and some people are like, I want to do this.
Well, and that's
But I
such a
don't
funny
wanna do it.
that's such a funny part of the conversation that you brought up earlier, but that plays into everything that I do in my world of digital marketing and stuff. Like, you were talking about the authenticity, and there was recently there was a little Dicky,
Sure.
had a big hit with this.
With a bitch.
Right. Like, he is a really good case of achieving popularity for the extent to which his authenticity, like his first big hit was about how much money he was going to save making his music video because he's a wiry Jewish guy.
Right.
Like,
He's real.
there's this authenticity piece that works back into everything when it gets to a certain level of maturity, where if you don't buy the guy on stage in a stand-up context talking about a joke, if you don't buy the guy in the battle rap context saying what he's saying, we feel the same way about politicians. Like, if you don't buy it because it doesn't feel like an authentic message coming from that person, I feel like society is more than ever primed to go, oh, fuck off.
And I
look at
love
something
that,
else.
Because like stand-up in the 70s and 80s, a lot of it was like character stand-up, and I'm going to do jokes, ladies and gentlemen. And now if you went out and did that, everyone's like, who the fuck are you talking to, bro? Like, what do you be with us? Be a person. What is this shit, right? When was the last time you saw like a character comedian? Like, they go, it's become much more intimate and personal and self introspective. And I like when somebody goes, I did a stand-up show last night. I like seeing people's real perspective from this person, and they're not pretending to be something, because that inauthenticity puts up this wall in between the audience and the performer. And people more and more we've seen behind the curtain of, it used to be what was on the TV was on the TV, and the 3 big channels would put out their stars, and now it's like you can do it in your bedroom. Everybody, there's no difference between you and the person on TV.
Literally, what we're
people.
doing right now is in
this right now,
in my bedroom,
right? Just
essentially,
you sleep
bedroom,
in here, Jesus,
bedroom in my house.
This is really,
one of the things I appreciate.
It was great
though,
when it was an office. Now that I know that it's a bedroom, it's completely changed
now
my
it's
perception.
Pathetic. The part I think about that is fascinating is watching, like, we're living through a transition in comedy in that sense, where you still have old guys like Carl Reiner hanging around talking about like how it was when you used to just grind it out in the Catskills and piece together jokes. And you're still talking about jokes, and there's still this workmanship to it where it's like you're still trying to find that authentic, like this is why I think why comedians were the first people to get broad success with podcasts, because they're used to iterative adaptation, right? You try it doesn't work, you try it again. You try it doesn't work, you try it again. You try it, like, there's this repetitive process of finding the way to make that joke land.
Yes.
And part of that is if you push it out of they don't believe you saying it anymore, you lost them.
Right.
If you don't pick the right turn of phrase, you didn't get the right context for the setup for the punchline to work. Like,
and even of the people nowadays who write jokes, Dimitri Martin writes jokes, but they're so from his perspective. And you don't go, he's playing a character. You go, that's Dimitri Martin, and that's how his brain works. And I'm with him, the person, right now. When you're seeing him perform, you aren't watching a bunch of jokes. You're watching his brain produce reflections on the world. And it's interesting you want to be with that person instead of this character who's doing one-liners. Rodney Dangerfield was really funny, but like when he got off stage, he wasn't that. He wasn't that guy. Dimitri Martin's probably like, I've seen him before and after shows. He's like kind of that guy. That's kind of his thing. Like, and more people realize like, oh, movie stars and TV stars they're just people. Everybody's kind of the same. And it's nice to see people want more and more personal access to stars. And when you see somebody who's just themselves, that's why I think it's become more and more popular.
I think
refreshing.
The interaction is just unavoidably more enriching for everyone, because no matter how polished or developed or interesting or thought-provoking your character is, it will be lacking what your everyday, all life long actual personality is. And so just the joke you tell, the story you tell, the way you look and appear, and just simple things like where your eyes look when you're in character is going to be different than if it's authentic coming from your soul. And so there's just more depth, I think.
I've always found that, I've been doing stand-up almost 10 years, and the kinds of things that I gravitate towards are not, here are some jokes about chairs. Pencils are funny. What's the deal with the DMV? When I write that kind of stuff, it feels inauthentic, and it feels like I tried to write a bunch of jokes, and it doesn't. But when I tell stories of things that happened to me in my life that I'm really excited about or really confused by, and it's me, Pete, the character in that situation, and I recreate that situation on stage, that's what people like. Mm-hmm. And it's not, man, these cars are crazy. What's up with dating? Haha, am I right? And some people can write like that airtight, but I want to just, when I tell a story on stage, it happened nearly word for word as to how I'm saying it. And especially our generation and the younger generation, they don't want you to fake. They don't want you to lie. Just be you.
Yeah.
And a lot of battle rap, the reason I like the first 2 battles that I sent you, the King of the Dot battles. King of the Dot is a Toronto-based league. There are leagues all over the world. There are leagues in, name a country, they have battle rap there. And there's this guy, Minnesota Luke, who now doesn't even live in Minnesota, but he's this really funny. When he started doing this, he was called Minnesota Luke, and I guess he's from there. And he's kind of a battle rap documentarian. He puts up videos of, 10 battles you didn't know existed. And he knows about these obscure battles between these huge battles. And he goes, well, the reason it didn't happen because of the day that they filmed it. This was back when they were filming things on VHS. And this guy thought that he lost, so he stole the tape. That kind of shit. And he puts out these great videos about, he's kind of the unofficial battle rap documentarian. Like, the whole community loves him. He's like this funny white dude, and he has this very like monotone delivery, and everybody loves him. And I don't remember why I brought him up.
I love how much listening to you talk about this is like listening to Joe Rogan talk about boxing. Like,
Totally.
There's a point where I get lost, but I don't care because clearly he knows what he's talking about. And it's just an impressive. So the thing I wanted to point out to kind of wind this down, because we're hitting time, is you said a specific thing when you were talking about battle rap and problematic art. You said you go to these tournaments or challenges or whatever you want to call it.
They're called tournaments and challenges.
Fair enough. Tournaments, challenges. But
Come
it's
on down
a
to
safe
the tournament
space.
challenge, everyone.
It's a safe space to, like, you said it was a safe space to, say these things and know for sure that I'm not actually going to murder you.
Right.
But that safe space term is like, there's no way of avoiding it if we're going to talk about all this shit with comedy.
That's why I use that term.
And modern discourse, like, because it's this idea of the comedy club is a safe space. And if you're trying to say that you shouldn't say this certain thing in the safe space, I'm sorry, just don't go in that space. That's not for you.
Yes.
But you don't get to, you can't, the problem right now is everyone thinks they deserve safe spaces. And I think that's fair. But they don't realize that you have to find your safe spaces, not turn other people's safe spaces into your
The comedy
safe
club
space.
is a safe space for the comedian.
Right,
Not
for the comedian,
audience.
not the audience.
Yes.
If you don't
Specifically
like it,
not
don't-
safe for the audience.
Yeah.
Don't put me in the front fucking
That's
row.
the whole
I feel
point.
super uncomfortable in the front row at a comedy club because
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh shit, I might be fair game.
Right.
And I know it.
I'm gonna say things that you might not like, whether it's about abortion or if I go, fuck peanut butter and jelly, and you go, I love peanut butter and jelly, what the fuck? I love, like, now the Bill Burr comes across as, we've seen Daniel Tosh had the big thing. Bill Burr was like, I hate these fucking bloggers who, you do all these jokes, they love them, but then you say one thing that they happen to not like, and now you're making statements. Now that it hits home to them, if you can make fun of this, make fun of this, but if you say something that, their cousin has autism, okay, well, now that it hits home, now it's real, and now I'm trying to offend, and now I'm joking.
So, I mean,
And
that's the big part of this conversation that touches on the episode we were just doing, Kerp, right? Is the idea of saying things that make people uncomfortable, that they all of a sudden have a personal attachment to, that the person saying it maybe didn't know. There was no intention of calling out something specific to that person, but all of a sudden you're enjoying this comedy set, but all of a sudden it's like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that. Yes. And that is such an unreasonable expectation of the listener to put on another human being. I didn't come out here to specifically offend you. My profanity is not directed at you to make you uncomfortable, make your life worse. I'm just being me up here. What is with people putting their own uncomfortableness on everyone else?
I don't know. Yeah, it's just if you do it really well, you can get away with anything.
Ooh, that's a tough argument to bring up right now as well. This is a really tough space.
What's the end of this?
I have no idea. so I feel like that's as good a place as any to get out of here, right?
That's
So
a great place.
I feel like the moral is tap dance through laser beams.
Yes. There are laser beams everywhere. Dance through them in a brilliantly clever way so everybody goes, fuck, that was really... He got to the other side, he brought us there, and he didn't do any of the things that were tasteless or with poor intent. That was really well done. Shit, I can't get mad at that. That was really good.
And if you suddenly feel like you need a safe space, look around first and make sure you aren't in someone else's safe space.
Ooh.
before shouting that you should have
If
the
your
right.
mic wasn't on a bracket, I'd say you should drop it right now. I don't want to drop your love.
Just turn that little screw. It'll eventually fall off.
And if you are a fan of Aaron Sorkin or shit talking or stand up or anything, I have gotten several of my friends infected with the battle rap bug. I will show a couple people a battle and they'll go, "That was fucking, show me more of that. That was amazing." Because they watch it and then I pause it and I go, "Did you guys catch that? They were just listing all the people in the NBA draft," and they went, "What? Wait, play it back." And then I play it back and they go, "Holy shit, they just did list 9 Disney movies. What the fuck? That was incredible." So you can just in a battle say, "I'm going to kill you," but that's not clever. That's not funny. If you were a comedian, you go, "Rape is funny," haha. That's not funny. But if you go, "What, are you gonna not have sex with them if they don't have sex with you?" That's the right way to do it. That's a clever way to deliver that message. And if you're
clever enough, you can just materialize safe spaces for whatever you want to say.
Yeah, more or less. You can, if you're good enough, you can get away with really anything. And it for those of you who have never seen battle rap, it looks like two people just talking shit and bragging, and it isn't. It is really nerdy, clever, multisyllabic, personal, referential wordplay that makes me think about language in a way that I hadn't before I saw the battle. There's one of my closest friends he's immaculate. He's incredible, and he's short. Everybody makes fun of him for being short. And this guy, Big K, who's this big Bubba Sparks looking to this big white dude, he's making fun of Ilmac for being short. And Ilmac's response is, so in hip hop, in battles, a homie is a homicide. And a body is a body bag. When you beat somebody 3 rounds to 0, not even close, you fucking body bag that dude, right? And he goes, "This is honestly a body, a homie. I'm small, but you're tiny beside me. I'm tall when I hop on the pile of bodies that I leave behind me." Right? You just screw-faced at that shit. You're just like, Jesus Christ.
That'd take me like a year
You
to dissect.
You're like, So he goes, so there are so many things happening in just that line. Honestly, a body, a homie. Honestly, body, homie. So he's using all of these words that all rhyme, and he goes, "This is honestly a body, a homie. I'm small, but you are tiny beside me. I'm tall when I hop on the pile of bodies that I leave behind me," because he's killed so many rappers in the past in battles. And he goes, "Now I'm just sitting on my throne of just fucking rappers I've killed in battles." The imagery of that is brilliant.
I'm imagining the end of Conan the Destroyer, where he's like, Schwarzenegger's just sitting on this throne by himself, made of the bones of those left in his wake.
The imagery of that, it's not yo, I'm a tough rapper. It's I'm sitting on the pile of people who I've killed. And it's a rebuttal to, I'm not small, I'm taller than you because I've killed so many people. They've piled up and now I'm on top of it. And that's one, and it looks like a guy talking shit. It's like nerdy, brilliant, multisyllabic wordplay shit. And when you get it, you screw face. That was your first screw face. When somebody says something particularly like filthy, you're just like, that was fucking hard. Jesus Christ.
Will you throw that line out? Perform that line as well as you can for the audio.
"This is honestly a body, a homie. I'm small, but you're tiny beside me. I'm tall when I hop on the pile of bodies that I leave behind me."
So if you want to come hang out in Slack in the channel that's been running for a little while that resulted in this episode, Pete's there dropping videos talking about this shit. You can get in there if you drop us as little as $1 an episode on Patreon. You can get there by going to patreon.com/zengineeringpodcast.com. And thanks to everybody who helps us out over there.
And you can watch all of my stand-up, or most of my stand-up stuff, for free. I'm at heypeet.com, P-E-E-T, P-E-E-T, like Pete's Coffee, heypeet.com.
Plugs on plugs.
Plugs on plugs.
Thanks for hanging out, man.
This was a nightmare.
Yeah, this was great.
I'm Adam.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Pete.
Play it safe, everyone.
You guys don't know how to end it. It's only been 49 episodes.
To be fair.
They don't know
Hey, it's engineering. Oh, hey, we didn't.
Ready to go.
Yeah, me too. Why'd you break the fourth wall like that?
Hey,
this
it's-
guy's an amateur. Jesus Christ.
To
This is my
promote,
podcast.
because I have to promote things.
I had a good buddy when I was younger, Peter Mills, who I don't know if he listens, but if he hears his name on a podcast, he'll flip his lid.
His Google alert just went
He
off.
used to, when we hung out in college, him and his buddy had been freestyling. They were friends from growing up, and they just freestyle rapped all the time, and they weren't particularly good, but they also were not embarrassed.
Not being embarrassed is 90% of the battle.
Right.
Seems like
and that's-
most of the competition.
Yeah.